everyone, and welcome to the Eat to Live podcast. I'm here with my dad, Dr. Fuhrman.
And I'm here with my daughter, Jenna, and glad you're joining us.
And today's topic, we are going to be talking about the foods that are better than Ozempic.
Right. I guess the better than Ozempic, as if Ozempic is so good.
Well, you have to admit it does work. You have seen it work for people, and a lot of people lose weight.
It doesn't, it works partially. So let's say how much it works. Because people in a year could lose as much as 10 to 15% of their body weight. So let's say a person comes in at 250 pounds and their ideal weight is 150 pounds. A male at 5'8" or 9 or 10, 150 pounds would be a good weight. So they have 100 pounds to lose. So 10% of their body weight at 250, they can lose 25 pounds on Ozempic. They can get from 250 to 225, maybe 230, maybe 240, maybe they can lose 30 pounds or 40 pounds. But they're still 60 pounds, 70 pounds overweight. They didn't learn how to eat. They're just using a chemical that makes it a little painful when they overeat sometimes. So they eat a little bit less. They don't have to worry about the quality of what they're eating. And that 10% to 15% of weight loss is not significant enough to prevent them from getting cancer, heart attacks, strokes, dementia in their future. They're not really learned a way to get all their fat off. And then worse than that, if they stop it, they gain the weight back again. Now, one thing we know is that losing weight and gaining it again is worse than never losing it. If they just stayed at 250, they'd be healthier than dropping to 225 and going back to 250 again. And so they're going to get worse, and the disease and their overall risk of death will enhance from Ozempic, because when they stop the Ozempic, they'll bounce back their weight, and the bounce back is going to cause damage to their body. Furthermore, Ozempic is linked, and other drugs like that, are linked to increased risk of thyroid cancer and thyroid tumors. So if they don't plan on ever coming off it, they want to stay with it for the rest of their life, then they're probably going to cause cancer. Because no drug with that's pharmacologically effective is non-toxic. Drugs are poisons, they're toxins, that's why they're prescribed. And even the drugs that aren't prescribed are still toxic, but still the gatekeeper of the drugs are doctors to prescribe them so people don't use them indiscriminately. But the doctor doesn't really have a gatekeeper. He's just a glorified pharmacist giving people drugs whatever they want, so he can make it's his business. He's dispensing drugs. Yeah. And they don't learn to eat healthy. It's like a blood pressure medication where they don't learn to remove the cause of blood pressure. They just don't think they have blood pressure problems anymore, which they do. So they're still eating bad food, still damaging their body. True. 25 pounds of weight loss is still better than not losing weight if it was kept off forever. But compared to a Nutritarian diet, where you're going to drop the whole 100 pounds you have, and you're really going to learn how to eat healthy, it's not in the same ballpark.
So you brought up some scary points, but you've always taught me that when medications are involved, you said there's always a cost.
Always, that's right.
So
you pay a price.
You pay a price, and there's a side effect. There's usually a long list of side effects. So there are a long list of side effects with Ozempic as well,
including gastroparesis, which means paralysis of the digestive tract that could take a long time to go away. So including a contaminant. So yes, it has some nausea, vomiting, gastroparesis that can be long term. But yeah, so you're taking a risk, but the risk of remaining obese and diabetic is severe too. So overall, the benefits of Ozempic still may show long-term benefits for these overweight, pre-diabetic, and post-diabetic individuals. Nevertheless, just because it's better than doing nothing, it still has dangers, and comparatively to doing it naturally, where a person can really protect themselves, really remove their problems, and learn how to live and eat the rest of their life. And there's a lot of little tips and tricks. But I think the reason why these weight loss drugs are so popular is because people couldn't lose weight no matter what they did, because they were so nutritionally ignorant that they tried to cut back on calories without increasing nutrient density of their tissues, which led to an overwhelming, unrelenting desire to overconsume calories. And then diets don't work. So the failure of diets is really the failure of people to understand nutritional science, and weight loss specialists and doctors advising their customers about nutritional science. They're giving them bad information begets bad results. Good information begets good results. And then so they give them Ozempic because they don't have good information to give them.
Well, and you hear it all the time. I hear a lot of my other physician friends say, well, people just want a magic pill. People don't want to change their habits. People want this. And I always rebut that by saying, well, at least give them the option, give them the education and both options. I feel like we're missing that education piece when you're in the doctor's office.
The doctors are ill-equipped, untrained, and not motivated to educate and to teach people to make dietary changes. Not only are they not motivated, their ratings as a doctor and therefore their payments they get are linked to their prescription patterns and how they prescribe drugs. So should they try to spend more time talking to people and prescribing the less drugs, they'd be penalized both in their monetary reimbursement and in their rating scores from the health insurance companies as a doctor that's preferred. So they would say, well, it's not a preferred doctor. The best doctors are doctors that prescribe the most drugs.
And even some lifestyle physicians, naturopathic doctors, people with more of a natural stint, I kind of see some of the same habits going where it started. Maybe they'll start with education, but then they'll say, oh, but you can do this weight loss drug as well. You could do, which, yeah, I guess there's room for both. You know, if someone really will not change their lifestyle, you want to ask yourself, is Ozempic the better option? But my question is, why did you say they only lose 10 to 15%? Because I feel like we've seen certain celebrities that look a lot thinner.
Mm-hmm. Well, we're talking about scientific studies.
Mm-hmm.
You know, what are in practice, cholesterol and drugs, you know, in actual practice, what do we really see out there on people using them? And there are studies on this, and as they do studies with a larger number of people, you get more accurate data. And sometimes it takes even a decade after the drug is first introduced to have enough people using it, where we enough for a long enough period of time, where you see the accurate data about the drug and the true dangers. Almost every drug introduced in medical history has shown more severe dangers than the people prescribing and advocating the drug initially thought at the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
So you take proton pump inhibitors, the reflux drugs that people who have reflux esophagitis. They were first prescribed only for short-term use, people with ulcers or reflux for like taking it for 2 to 3 weeks or something.
Sure.
But then doctors started prescribing and people take them for years.
Mm-hmm.
So now, you know, now that they're out in the market for 20 years, we see that those drugs are linked to heart attacks,
mm-hmm.
and they're dangerous to stay on long term. We didn't know that the first 5 years they were out.
Right.
You know,
for sure.
So every drug loses its heyday and gets into a phase of black box where you know you have to be more careful prescribing it because we never knew it was so dangerous.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
All the drugs
I feel like the biggest one is, what's the painkiller that everyone became addicted to? Oxycodone?
Oh, yeah, more narcotics?
Yeah. Like, I mean, when I read books about that, it's just crazy, the history. Yeah. So you truly believe there are certain foods that are a better choice and can lead to weight loss and reaching your ideal weight for your entire life over Ozempic? Like, you actually think there's foods better than Ozempic?
I wouldn't word it that way because, as you know, my mission is to teach people about a Nutritarian diet, which includes the whole dietary structure and portfolio to slow aging, maximize human lifespan by protecting against cancer, heart attacks, strokes, and dementia. Mm-hmm. So yes, are there a certain food? What are the foods that we should eat that maximizes our health? And the reason it maximizes our health, because it enhances the nutrient density of our cells. Mm-hmm. So we need the high quality of nutrients in the amount of phytochemicals and antioxidants and the nutritional diversity in the cell, which makes for each cell's lifespan. At the same time, we want to lower the cell's toxicity, which means there are toxins from the external world, but there are also toxins the body produces, like reactive oxygen species, a type of free radical, advanced glycation end products, lipofuscin, ammonia, uric acid, urea, formaldehyde. Actually, the body makes formaldehyde and ammonia, believe it or not. But the body has to remove those things.
Yes.
So I'm saying more toxins, less nutrients, more disease. More nutrients, less toxins, more lifespan. Now, when you strive after more nutrients and less toxins, what do you think that does for your desire to eat calories?
Turns down the apostat.
That's exactly it. And what happens when you have no nutrients and you have a lot of toxins? It makes you can't control them. You just desire to eat more and more food. You can't stop it. And a lot of different mechanisms.
I tell everyone this when I health coach them. I've actually experienced this. Have you experienced it ever?
No.
Well, never.
Did I ever eat bad enough?
Yeah. Well, okay, I'll give you an example. I remember it so vividly because I remember I actually felt like a calorie consuming monster, and I laughed to myself because I hear you say this all the time. But I was in New England in a beach town, and there was only seafood and carbs. That's the only thing. I could not locate a salad. And I was very far from the beaten path, wasn't near a grocery store, quick stop with friends. We were on a road trip, not trying to be fussy. And there was only bread and seafood. And I was starving. And no matter the pieces of bread that I ate, I couldn't feel satiated because I'm so used to feeling satiated on a healthy diet with so much nutrients. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is how people must feel. And it's terrible.
But you wouldn't have lost your nutrient density so quickly. You know what I mean?
Think?
So
I was hungry.
It's a different mechanism. Because because there's other mechanisms to control the appetite.
Okay.
There's the fiber content of the meal you weren't getting.
Yeah.
That leads to biochemical fullness of stretch receptors, but also there's signaling to the apostat in the central nervous system based on the bacteria breaking down the fiber and turning it into short chain fatty acids. The short chain fatty acid that is a result of healthy bacteria is called butyrate. Now, butyrate turns down the apostat in the hypothalamus. So you were not getting any butyrate signaling to the brain like you had enough food. And you weren't getting any signaling of the gut stretch receptors and nutrient receptors. So you feel like, but it's not the same thing as the drive to overeat due to lack of cellular nutrients, which would take longer to occur.
Right.
Excuse me a second. Still recovering from that little cold, but I'm really better.
Do you need water?
No, I'm okay.
Okay. Yeah, so I definitely experienced where I felt like I wasn't satiated due to lack of fiber. I get that.
Yeah.
So there are certain foods that are very high in fiber and nutrients. So you're kind of killing two birds with one stone. You're getting all the anti-cancer and anti-disease benefits, and you're getting the weight loss benefits because this diet leads to our ideal weight.
Right. You're getting 10 things together that make, so when we're saying better than Ozempic, it's like when you take in a meal that has green vegetables and beans or lentils and nuts or seeds, those three things, it naturally slows gastric emptying. And that's a different process where it makes you satisfied with fewer calories. Then, not only did it make you satisfied with fewer calories, both raw vegetables and beans and nuts and seeds, their calories are not all biologically absorbable. So let's just say this for a minute. When you have about 200 calories of beans, you feel like you ate 200 calories of beans, you're satisfied with the 200 calories. 200 calories doesn't come into your bloodstream. When you eat 200 calories of nuts, your brain gets measured 200 calories, your stomach feels 200 calories, comes in, doesn't keep you hungry. You're not hungry for hours and hours and hours. You're not hungry. But 200 calories never enter the bloodstream. When you're eating carrot sticks and cucumbers and celery and jicama and raw vegetables, you just ate 200 calories of carrot sticks. Those 200 calories never go into the bloodstream. There's too much caloric loss from these nuts. So not only do they delay this gastric emptying, they satisfy. This is how I say moderate caloric restriction. The diet automatically moderate caloric restricts you because you're eating the amount you feel like eating, but then all those calories never fully enter the bloodstream. Whereas if you had, bread, seafood, pasta, mayonnaise, olive oil, eggs, all those calories come into the bloodstream and you can't get them out and you can't, right? So you feel like you ate 1,000 calories, you got 1,000 calories. When you're eating the vegetables, you feel like you ate 1,000 calories, you're only getting 700 calories. Okay, so now, but not only do those calories now all come into the body, but because they rush into the bloodstream so much faster and create a caloric rush. So now you ate animal fats, which enter the bloodstream, whoosh, like you flushed it in there. Now you ate olive oil and coconut oil, which put 200 calories into the bloodstream in 3 minutes. And now you ate some bagels and some bread, which enters sugar calories in the bloodstream within 5 minutes. So now you put 400 calories in the bloodstream. Fast. And that stimulates the brain just as in the same brain centers had you taken the oxycodone. It's the opiate centers of the brain have been stimulated and overstimulated. And now it makes you desirous to consume more calories. And I say, now you're the calorie consuming monster. Now people might get mad at me for that term. It's like not politically correct. They feel like I'm insulting people who overeat or eat or are overweight. But I'm saying it's not their fault.
Yeah.
I'm not blaming people.
It's like an angel devil.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like that devil part takes over where it's really it sounds like it's your body's mechanisms and you're powerless.
Right. They're culturally indoctrinated to think these are the right way to eat. And then biological mechanisms rewire the brain. So they're habituated to feeling uncomfortable unless they overeat calories. They're not, so it's taking away their willpower.
Right.
Now it's like an alien driving them to overeat. That's why I say calorie consuming monster.
Yeah.
They're not satisfied with few calories. Not them per se. It's just that their body needs calories, wants calories, and feels empty without the calories.
Yeah. But it's not helping their health goals or their lifestyle or long-term health or short-term health, right? When you choose these foods.
Right. And that's where the term SOS is so important. A nutritarian diet is an SOS-free diet. It's not the only, I think, the best quality SOS-free diet. There are other plant-based diets that are good, but they're not as good as a nutritarian diet, or we've designed to eat all the healthiest foods. So the SOS-free means sugar, oil, and salt-free, because sugar, obviously, most people listening to our podcast probably know when I say sugar, I mean any highly ground flour acts like sugar. So white flour acts like sugar. So a bagel is sugar. A croissant is sugar. Italian bread is sugar. It's a sugar equivalent. It's just it's a cake. It's the cake diet.
But what you're not considering sugar is probably berries, fruit.
Correct.
Even dates.
That's correct, because that's not free sugar. White flour is free sugar. It enters the bloodstream with no significant nutrient load, and it's not bound to fiber. When you eat fruit, the sugar is fiber bound, fed into the bloodstream slowly, and with the antioxidants and cofactors to deal with the energy production of those sugar calories. When you take the sugar from a processed food, you're taking it without the cofactors, the vitamins, minerals, and antioxidants that are consumed in its utilization for energy. So it's shunted to fat production, leaving you fatigued even when you have not adequate calories. Completely different biological mechanisms.
I just want to be clear here, because this is, I think, might be confusing to people. Do you consider white bread a sugar fast food, something that is a processed food?
Yes, white flour products and commercial baked goods are processed food, fast food, junk food.
Yeah.
They're a sugar equivalent. So eating bagels and pizza, eating a pizza is a piece of cake, a piece of candy. It's candy with some cheese melted on top. So a hamburger bun, the white flour is a candy bun. It's cake. It's meat and cake. The combination of meat and cake, the combination of animal protein and high glycemic carbohydrate is the witch's cauldron of cancer causation. That's what causes cancer, eating high glycemic carbohydrates with with animal protein, and you throw on the cooked oils on top of that, and you've just put a match under the light of the flame to cancer on your body.
Very October themed of you, witch's cauldron. Nice touch. But okay, so on the other hand of that, because now you've laid the law of some sugars are processed foods, including white bread, white flour, white pastas, maybe a big portion of people's diet. So then when people are searching for other alternatives to eat and you're looking for carbohydrates, you might look at a can of beans and say, wow, 14 grams of carbohydrates is a lot, but it's not the same carb.
That's correct.
Can you explain that?
By the way, I'm also saying, just to go back 1 inch, is that SOS, sugar, oil, and salt, drives an increased caloric drive in your brain. They drive you to consume, they're appetite stimulants. So the person, they don't need Ozempic, they need to stop the appetite stimulants. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so they're taking these things that drive increased appetite. Okay, now getting back to the question, what did you just ask me?
About carbs. So when beans are heavy carb foods, maybe sweet potato is a heavy carb food. That's a lot of carbs. I want to know the difference between that and, say, a processed carb, maybe a white bread, white pasta, pizza. It's
the difference between a walnut and walnut oil. So the other words, when you eat the white flour products, white rice included, the sugar goes into the bloodstream very rapidly. So you get a huge spike of sugar in the blood that's measurable in the blood. When you eat beans, that 200 calories comes in now steadily over a 3-hour period. It didn't come in 5 minutes. It came in over 3 hours. You're only getting 1 or 2 calories a minute. How many calories are put in the blood? When you eat nuts, you're only getting 1 or 2 calories a minute. When you eat oil, it comes in at 120 calories a minute, 100 calories a minute. 5 minutes, you put in 500 calories in. You eat the beans, you put 5 calories in. When you're eating healthy food, you're putting 5 to 10 calories in the blood per minute. And your body burns it for energy, and you feel fine. When you put 500 calories in the blood in a minute, then you're stimulating the brain. And the chronic high calorie spiking to the brain changes the neuroplasticity and the rewiring of the brain. So now you're desirous of that spike, and you're not satisfied unless you have that spike calories. And then those little bit of calories trickling into the bloodstream keeps your energy levels constant, never up and down. And it also keeps you not desiring to eat. And you don't have to eat to fullness to get energy, because it's being fed out nice and slowly into the bloodstream. And you're getting so much more than just carbohydrate calories. You're getting anti-cancer nutrients, phytochemicals, flavonoids, fibers. You're supporting the growth of good bacteria in the gut. You're doing so much more than just putting carbohydrate and calories in the blood. Because when you ate the bean, and when you eat the nut, and when you ate the onion, now you've fueled the growth of healthy bacteria in the gut. These are the prebiotic fuels to thicken the microbiome and create a biofilm that covers the villi in the small intestines with like a plastic shield that now slows caloric absorption, utilizes calories, slows caloric absorption, and produces nutrients.
Right.
So you have the microbiome makes you lose weight too. So you're eating foods that fuel the growth of the microbiome. So now you have less caloric calories coming in because the microbiome is consuming calories, more nutrients coming in because the microbiome is making nutrients, and butyrate production, which turns down the apostat in the central nervous system. And this biofilm slows the absorption of glucose into the bloodstream. The healthy biofilm from eating the beans, which have the most slowly digestible carbohydrates of any carbohydrate-containing food.
Right.
Beans are the secret. Beans are the secret to weight loss because that's your favorite carbohydrate food because they're high in protein, they're high in fiber, they're high in flavonoids, they come into the bloodstream slowly, they decrease your desire for calories, they make you feel satisfied for hours. We can go on and on and on about beans, right?
So you named all the magic recipe for better than Ozempic food. So
Correct, yeah.
I'm taking the I'm taking the B in G bombs and I'm going to say better than Ozempic. That is definitely a food that I feel like does the job.
Good point.
No, it's great.
We could put that on make that like a car bumper sticker.
Well, it's all the G bombs.
G bombs better than Ozempic. Put that. We can get a bumper sticker. G bombs better than Ozempic.
Yeah. Do you want me to add it to your car?
No, I want you to add it to the Dr. Fuhrman shop.
Oh,
so people can buy it and put it on their car.
Not just your car. You want everyone to have it.
Yeah, G bombs better than Ozempic. drfuhrman.com.
Perfect. That'll get a lot of people reading about G bombs.
Yeah,
which a lot of people know about G bombs, which is great.
It's amazing. Even other doctors all over the place are mentioning G bombs today. It's crazy.
No, they love that acronym.
Yeah.
Very good. Very crafty. Okay, my next question. So let's talk.
By the way, how do you think G bombs came about?
Mom?
No.
You?
No.
Sean?
No.
Oh, who?
Mary Lou Hemingway. Mary Lou Henna. Mary Lou Henna. She has this incredible brain. She used to be a star on Taxi, a comedian. She's a Nutritarian. She's a really great person.
Yeah.
So I had her speak at one of my conferences about 15 years ago. I don't know when it was. So she came in to film a little infomercial about the conference we were putting on together. And she said to me, "What are the foods that are healthiest? That are the healthiest foods?" And I said, "Well, beans and onions and mushrooms prevent cancer." And she said, "Why don't you call it come up with an acronym for it?"
Yeah.
So then she came up. So then she said, "How about gnomes? GN gnomes." So I went home with that gnomes idea, and then wasn't bad, but the whole idea of the acronym came from Mary Lou.
Okay,
so then we talked it over, and we had people give input, and we said, "Oh, let's put G bombs. It's perfect."
She's actually known. Doesn't she have a photographic memory? Isn't she kind of famous for that?
She's very famous because only a few people in the world have this memory where she can memorize everything she's ever been, every day of her life in complete. It's amazing. What day were you born? December 2nd. Oh, that was the day that wasn't raining. That was the day that this happened in the newspaper or whatever,
That's crazy.
It's like she has the brain like that. It's crazy.
Yeah.
So you remember that, right?
Yeah, I do. Mary Lou Henner. That's her name, right?
Yeah.
No, I do. I remember that. I was just a kid, but yes. Oh, that's interesting. I didn't know that. G bombs is, so who kind of thought of it after that? Would you take the credit or would Mom?
It wasn't Mom. And it wasn't.
Definitely not Mom.
It wasn't. I think I was communicating with somebody on the website.
Okay.
Might have said G bombs or something. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, we were talking away the best in acronym or something. You know what I mean?
But this is actually my next question. So let's talk about the G. Are greens an appetite suppressant, I guess I'll say? Do they make you feel full? Would you deem greens in this category of necessary for reaching your ideal weight or perfect weight loss food?
The G bombs in particular are the most powerful foods against cancer. One of the reasons they fight cancer development is because they're powerful anti-angiogenic foods. And the word angiogenic means the growth of new blood vessels. So tumor cells that replicate and grow need to have blood vessels sprout to feed the replicating cells with more blood and nutrients and sugar. Without nutrients and blood, they can't grow. They're dead. They're living tissue. Fat cells can't grow without new blood vessels. So the same foods that don't allow tumors to grow don't allow fat to grow in your body. So the anti-angiogenic food have anti-fat storage effects. Now, the foods that have the high caloric rush, and especially animal protein, because it has a high IGF-1, IGF-1 response. So the high IGF-1 with the high insulin, create a favorable environment for growth. They're growth-promoting hormones. And growth-promoting hormones work by promoting angiogenesis.
So you're saying growth-promoting hormones fuel angiogenesis?
Yes.
And then these other foods that are good are anti-angiogenic.
Anti-angiogenic.
Right.
So the anti-angiogenic foods accelerate fat loss and prevent fat deposition on the body because you can't grow fat in an anti-angiogenic environment. So I always say, mushrooms are the most powerful. Mushrooms say, no way, Jose, you're not going to put fat on your body.
Really?
And they say, no way, Jose, you're not going to get cancer. And that's why I say mushrooms are bilingual. No way, Jose, they're bilingual.
I didn't know. Very good. Okay. I didn't know that you were putting mushrooms in this category. I mean, I feel like mushrooms are acclaimed for being super immunity foods, superfoods, anti-cancer, but I didn't know you're actually saying they help us keep our ideal weight.
Right. One of the reasons why they're so powerful anti-cancer effects is because mushrooms lower hormones. They lower angiogenesis promoting hormones, insulin, IGF-1, estrogen, anti-estrogenic effects, and they themselves are anti-angiogenic. So they set the body up hormonally for better health, not just immune system building.
Right.
Yes, they have
that reputation.
They build immune system too.
Yeah.
But they make the body hormonally favorable and less favorable for fat growth and tumor growth.
Oh wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Okay, so we got the greens, we got the mushrooms, we got the beans, nuts and seeds. I feel like you're going to say are on this recipe.
Yes. All these things are. We discussed nuts and seeds give you the necessary fat for absorption of phytochemicals without throwing a caloric rush of oil into the bloodstream. You know how people say? They say, oh yeah, well, eating fat makes you fat and eating fat makes your glucose go higher. That's distortion. It's not really accurate. Yes, putting fat in your bloodstream at a high rate makes you not absorb and disturbs the insulin uptake and makes you the glycemic response to food poor, higher glucose in the blood because you had fat in the bloodstream. But that's from oil or animal fats. Nuts and seeds don't put much fat in the bloodstream. They absorb too slowly.
Right. So what I'm hearing, you're really calling out the foods that are slow foods. And you're saying the dangerous foods or the foods that will help you increase fat storage on the body are these fast foods.
Right. And also fat storage itself makes you insulin resistant. So when you have fat on the body, it makes the body produce more insulin, which is more pro-angiogenic and much more fat. So the higher insulin, which then makes you gain more weight from being overweight. You got to get... So that's where the drugs, the diabetic drugs to lower blood sugar, by adding more insulin or making the beta cells that make insulin make more insulin, the drugs make the beta cells make more insulin. That makes the person get heavier. That makes them become more diabetic. It creates the medical profession, the drugs used to fight diabetes, creates a whole vicious cycle of makes it more easier to gain weight. Whereas Ozempic and those GPTL or whatever they call them, 1 inhibitors, at least don't make you gain weight. And metformin doesn't make you gain weight. So some diabetic drugs don't. But the other diabetic drugs like the glucosinurias, the Avandia and glyburide and glipizide and insulin, a lot of those drugs, Actos, do make you gain weight and become more diabetic the more you use them. So
Ozempic was originally created to combat diabetes, right?
That's correct, yeah.
Wild. So they were able to create one that doesn't make you gain weight.
It doesn't make you gain weight. It's a better drug for diabetes.
Right. Oh, interesting.
But still not as good for diabetes. It's just following this diet, which knocks out diabetes in a month.
With no medications necessary. Yeah. I love when I hear people so shocked that they got off all their medications. That's
It's kind of amazing. Like, I'm even shocked every month. Because like this month, as you know, well, actually last month in September, a guy comes in on 80 units of insulin a day. 80 units a day. In 4 days, he's not diabetic anymore.
It's crazy.
I cut him back to 20 units from 80 the first day. The next thing was blood sugar 75. He thought I had to wake up in the morning and take something to eat because he thought his blood sugar went too low. I went from 80 to 20. But then I told him to stop all insulin on day 2. The next day, he wakes up with a blood sugar of 90. And the next day, his blood sugar is 75 on no insulin.
Oh my gosh.
He becomes non-diabetic in 4 days.
Yeah. I hope he's doing well. That's amazing.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
Right? All of them become non-diabetic in like 80-90% within a month. Some people take a little longer, but 4 days, I mean, so.
That's so impressive. Wow. So what about green tea? I know you like green tea because it's you make sure to add it into your anti-cancer supplements,
right?
And you added it to Complete Green. So I know you think there's really good properties in it, but do you think it makes people reach their ideal weight? Does it suppress appetite? What's the deal?
It has a mild positive effect because turmeric, the curcumin derived from turmeric, green tea, also some other herbs have phytochemicals that have anti-angiogenic and anti-estrogenic effects. So yes, green tea has anti-angiogenic and estrogen-lowering benefits. And so it magnifies the benefits of mushrooms. Green tea also has some ability to raise, it's kind of confusing, but I'll kind of simplify it.
Okay, let's hear it.
We don't want to raise systemic IGF-1 because it's not good for our health.
Yeah.
But we lift weights, which raises local IGF-1. Raising local IGF-1 maintains muscle mass, and maintaining your muscle to fat ratio helps you burn more calories. Good for you, not bad for you. Green tea supports muscular utilization and production of IGF-1.
Local IGF-1.
Local IGF-1, not systemic IGF-1 to bathe the breast and the prostate to increase risk of cancer. So even though I'm saying meat eating raises IGF-1 that damages the prostate and the breast, increases cancer risk, green tea has some IGF-1, but a type of IGF-1 raising effects only localized in muscle tissue that helps you maintain and prevent muscle wasting with weight loss or with aging.
Oh, wow. That's interesting.
So there's some benefit. So that's why all the G-bombs and the judicious use of these supplements, mushrooms and green tea and little turmeric compounds, are all work together. You know, just taking green tea on a bad diet, you're not going to get significant benefit. But you put it all together, every little thing helps a little bit more.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Why not?
Yeah,
it's like you're using science to create the perfect diet.
Yeah, exactly. Using science to, and all these things synergistically add another, making it easier to get the results you need. And all of a sudden you're doing everything, and wow, the weight just like falls off you. It's amazing that people lose a pound a day sometimes coming in here, right? They come to the facility and lose a pound a day. How could they lose a pound every single day?
It's cool seeing that at the retreat. How you talk about it and you hear these stories, but actually seeing it firsthand is really rewarding.
Yeah.
So I love that.
Yeah. And you know that they're actively losing weight. So they didn't lose a pound a day. They didn't lose. So this guy that lost a pound a day, he didn't lose a pound of body fat. By the way, he's losing some muscle mass with that, which is good. They have too much, when they're too heavy, they have too much muscle mass. They want to get the fat of the muscle and have the muscle shrink too. But they're also losing a lot of water weight, because when your body is more toxic and more acidic, your body holds on to water. So they're losing water a little bit every day to the point where they don't need to lose much water. Their weight loss kind of slows down. Maybe the second month, instead of losing 20 pounds, they'll only lose 15 pounds or something, and then they lose it. But I got to tell you this one quick story, okay?
Okay.
About a guy who comes to the retreat. He came to the retreat, not recent years. This was in Flemington, New Jersey, when I had that old green mansion in downtown Flemington.
Mansion's a stretch, but yeah, we got it. The old house, the haunted place.
Haunted house, 9 bedrooms.
Yeah,
right?
I remember.
Yeah, okay. So I take away their car keys, their credit cards, their money, their wallet, put it in the safe.
Why did you feel that you had to do that?
Because there's luncheonettes and fast food restaurants right out the door with downtown Flemington.
Right.
You can walk down the street and go and get a burger.
People had no issue with this.
No, they signed a release that they could take everything.
Okay.
So they have this guy, his name is John, he's a reverend, and he's walking around town and looking at all the stores, and he's getting exercise and eating the diet. He's not fasting, he's eating. He loses a pound. On 14 days, he lost 14 pounds. On 16 days, he lost 16 pounds. On 18 days, he lost 18 pounds. Phenomenal, right?
Yeah, amazing.
On the 19th day, Steve, the house manager, takes him into New York City to a vegan singles dance. And at the vegan single dance, this guy eats a corn muffin and some macaroni salad. That's it. It must have been mayonnaise in the macaroni salad. Comes back the next morning, 3 pounds heavier. 3 pounds heavier. He didn't eat 3 pounds of food.
Right.
He put on water weight.
That's so
because
crazy.
his body stopped detoxifying. Okay. So because he stopped the detox process, his body was revved up along this rhythm of detoxing, putting out poisons, burning fat, throwing waste. All of a sudden, he stops the detox, puts on 3 pounds, gets back into it again. Over the next weeks, he takes off the 3 pounds, but now he only loses about a half a pound a day. Stop the detox. So he takes the whole week to get the 3 pounds off.
Wow.
So we go through a week with no weight loss, no further weight loss. And then he stayed a few more days, gained a little, lost a little more weight and went home. But here's the thing. So many people say to me, like some relatives of ours that you might remember who this is. Oh, I follow the diet. I only went out to a restaurant once, or I only went off it once or twice. I didn't lose it, but it doesn't work for me. This doesn't work for me. I don't lose any weight. They don't realize their 1 or 2 cheats a week just sabotage the benefits.
It's kind of
So-
like the law of physics. Once
Yeah.
in motion, stays in motion. And it's kind of like when you put a bump in the road, you're really stalling it out.
And
So
it confuses the body.
yeah.
You're right. It's
And
crazy.
I don't think we're saying that people can't make mistakes or can't, but if your weight loss stalls, give it more time to let it rev back up. I think you have to sometimes be patient and stick with it because there's so many benefits.
And stick with the program.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. Stick with it. Like once in motion, get back that momentum, keep it going.
I know. If you would ask me, like, how does my message today differ from the message in 20 years ago? Somebody asked me that. I was doing a podcast. I was doing an interview this morning from Portugal.
Mm-hmm.
And she asked me, well, how does your message today differ? I said, when I wrote Eat to Live in 2022, published in 2004, that's 20 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
No, is that 20? Yes, 20 years ago. Wow.
Yeah.
Can you believe it? 20 years ago? I told people, stay with a strict diet for 6 weeks. And then if you want to, cheat 10% of the time. Do just 90%,
Mm-hmm.
And over the years, I don't say that anymore because I've seen so many thousands of people who've been screwed up by the 10% of fooling around with food.
Mm-hmm.
That 10% prevented it. They lost the weight, they did great, and they started to put 10% of junk food, and they gained the weight back. They stopped benefiting. And now I say the money's in the last 5%. Because now we see the magic happens. The psoriasis goes away. The lupus, the multiple sclerosis goes away.
Mm-hmm.
The brain fog, the mental focus, the intelligence, the depression. You see that when they do it 100%, you see magical results that you don't see with people doing it 90%. And the weight loss just pours off you. Now, I know for a lot of people, including you, think it's so radical, people can't do it this way. But for most people who having struggled, the strict guidelines of being in with both feet and totally committed puts them under less stress because they're not keep making stressful decisions all the time. Should they do it? Should they not do it? Oh, I feel bad. I shouldn't have eaten that. It didn't taste so good anyway. Now I'm not going to get blah, blah, blah. It actually makes so many people just do it simpler and easier and focusing on making healthy food taste great instead of trying to keep dabbling in more conventional flavors that can sabotage your benefits.
Well, I am going to challenge that because I'm your daughter. It's what I do. But so I feel like it matters. This is why our education, for me, education is in the last 5 to 10% because some people might be so excited and do this 90% of the time and be so excited to eat that piece of cake or eat that funnel cake or something really.
Funnel cake?
I'm just saying. Easy there. This is what I'm saying. I'm choosing versus other people who might add and think it's off program to add 1 egg a week, right? So I feel like it lies in the education where we want to make sure we're teaching what a normal food should be versus something that was concocted in a lab to fuel that all these health problems, fried sugar, oil, this and that, versus incorporating, like you always said, and I would say Eat to Live times, if you don't want to be vegan, that's totally fine. Why don't you make a veggie burger that has a little bit of meat or turkey and that give it a flavor profile, but then have it be mostly vegetables. So it's a good comp. So this, some people would say is 5 to 10%, while other people would say is going to a fair and having ice cream. So I just feel like education is the heart of it because then you can choose.
That's not 5 to 10%. That is 2% or 1%.
But I don't even, why does it have to have a percent?
I'll tell you why.
Okay.
Because when people who are suffering with medical conditions and they're overweight and they're food addicts, which they are, because of they would have eaten healthy and lost weight. Even having a little bit of food that is not in their best interest could throw them off the track to want to have more of that food and go off the diet.
Right.
So there's too many, my experience of the last 30 years, there's too many people who have been sabotaged, like the alcoholic who goes to have alcohol on the weekend, and then they just keep drinking, and they won't go back to drinking again.
Right.
For some people, even a little bit of cheating, they're at a restaurant, no, just have some white bread on the table, and then they start eating everything in the meal, and then all of a sudden they're back eating, going to the restaurant, they're back eating more food. I did it yesterday, I'm going to do it. It relights the fire of their desire. So you have to be very careful. A person with no food addictive tendencies can have something, let's say, off the strict part of the program or off the perfect food, because they're only going to have it once a month or so, or twice a month. It's not going to be that significant to their health. You did that, no big deal. But a person with a disease process who's overweight and a food addict, the twice a month going off could trigger them to want to have more. And also, why should they be sabotaging or slowing their results that are so that when they have these serious conditions, they're looking to recover from?
Yeah, but I think I just want to expand upon that. I agree, but at the same time, I don't eat cake. Like I don't eat cake because I don't like the taste of it because it tastes so different than it's like so sickeningly sweet to me because
Yeah, it's disgusting.
once you we look at our faces, like we don't enjoy it.
Right.
And I feel like 5 to 10%, you should be like, push yourself to get there, enjoy natural foods and push yourself to be at that point where you don't even want that
And you
other
make
stuff.
better desserts that taste better.
That's what I'm
using
saying.
Natural,
So I don't
using
even
some figs or something.
Yeah, I don't even like issuing a numerical term with it because I feel like it's all about the education. And once you start eating these like delicious vegetables and you're like, and I feel so good with every meal that I feel like I'm fighting my risk of breast cancer, stuff like that really resonates with you and that you don't even have to label it like, it's get to a place where you don't even have to think it's like on track or off a track. You're just on the best path, So that's what I think. I wanted to ask you a quick question because we didn't finish about green tea. The caffeine, is it a problem? Like, would you say drink uncaffeinated green tea or one? Yeah.
I'm a nut about caffeine too, but still, most of the green teas have such low amounts, it's probably not even relevant.
Right.
But I do want,
not 5 cups a day.
Yeah, if they're drinking more than 1 cup, they should get non-caffeinated green tea. If they're drinking 1 cup a day, it probably doesn't matter.
Right.
But also, just drinking cold water, ice water, is also helpful. You're talking about better than Ozempic?
Mm-hmm.
Well, just have a glass of ice water before you start eating.
Mm-hmm.
That reduces the appetite of the meal.
Why?
Well, a combination of factors. Number one, it puts cold into your bloodstream, and the body has to raise the body temperature now in response to the cold. What's that?
It has to work a little bit?
It has to work. It burns some calories from the cold, just like doing ice baths and stuff. Not that I want to do an ice bath, but putting a little cold, you're eating high cold stuff. So cold, but also it has an effect to make you more like you're full with that meal because the ice water stays in the stomach and it doesn't leave the stomach that rapidly because you had it right before you ate, not 15 minutes before you ate. Mm-hmm. So it makes it so you're feeling a little bit more full when you have that meal and you have the cold temperature as well.
Happy you brought this up because I was talking to Kara about it. I see a lot of doctors promoting like drink water and you should be drinking 8 glasses of water a day. Mm. And I have you in the back of my head who always says, you don't need all that water. You get a lot of water from fruits and vegetables. Like you drink when you're thirsty. You don't need more than that. But Kara said, well, it's good to recommend to drink water because they're replacing soda and bad beverages with water so then they start losing weight.
But that person isn't a nutritarian. We don't have to convince people to drink water so they're not going to drink soda and other bad beverages.
Right.
We all know they shouldn't be drinking that bad beverages. I mean, I'm not in that mentality.
Yeah.
I'm trying to get people who are living so unhealthfully to try to trick them to eat a little bit healthier. I'm past I'm past that. I want to give people what to do who are more health enthusiasts and want to really how to do this really right. Mm-hmm. But yeah, she's right. Better they drink a lot of water than be drinking other things they shouldn't be drinking.
Yeah,
maybe they'll stop that. But the problem with over drinking, if you're on a nutritarian diet, now it can lead to a pathology. Because now we're advocating people have very little sodium in their diet, just what's in natural foods.
Right.
So let's say the person's eating a natural food diet, no added sodium, getting 600 milligrams of sodium a day in their diet. Their diet is acclimated to holding on to sodium. And their body, they're not going to sweat out any sodium or pee it out. They're holding on to it, so sodium intake is so low. If they start drinking extra water they don't need, especially 10 or more glasses a day, they can wash away too much sodium and make them relatively hyponatremic. Their body sodium can go too low, increasing fatigue. And runners who overdrink water in marathons and stuff could have a seizure because their sodium gets low just from overdrinking of water.
Oh, wow.
And this is why taking salt is so bad. Because when you take salt, you have to drink more water, like the average American, to wash away all that extra sodium. And you wash away that extra sodium, you're not just washing away extra sodium, you're taking other minerals along with it. Mm-hmm. So now you're chronically mineral deficient. And if you get to an exercising where you're sweating, you have to replenish the fluid, you may start cramping up from electrolyte loss, which you're not going to have on a nutritarian diet because your body doesn't put out minerals when we sweat. So we can sweat all we want, but it's just pure water coming out. You can lick your armpit and there's no salt in it.
Mm-hmm. Right. Oh, do you lick your armpit, sir?
I have in the past because I've checked it out
No, you haven't.
To check it out. There was no sodium in it. Just to check it out. It's a scientist. I'm testing out my sodium. But now I wouldn't do it because I put some of that coconut deodorant on, and I want to have the coconut deodorant on my
I'm happy you're deodorizing now. That's great.
Happy I'm deodorizing? What do you mean?
Didn't you? Well, if you didn't used to deodorize, if you didn't used to put deodorant on because you liked your armpits, it sounds like you'll smell better now.
I don't know when I never used any deodorant. It depends on the situation.
You use deodorant.
I may not use deodorant from going for a run or going and work in the garden. I'll come back and take a shower.
Yeah.
But if I know I'm going to go out with people or something or be around others, I'm going to maybe put a natural deodorant on. However,
I appreciate the clarification.
However, I don't hardly sweat unless I really heavy exercise. When you're nutritarian, you don't get tired and you don't get sweaty and you don't get, the heat doesn't bother you as much. Sure, I sweat if I'm playing tennis or running up hills or something really is exerting, but I'm not really exerting myself. I'm hardly sweating anyway.
Yeah, I don't think you're a very smelly person, which is nice. I don't think I am either. Okay, so wait, what is the right amount of water to drink on a nutritarian diet?
Depends on what you ate and how hot it was outside and whether you're outside or not. But just generally, if I'm not doing much today, and I'm not going to be outside playing tennis, I'm just going to be mostly indoor working and maybe going for a walk, I don't know, 1 glass of water between breakfast and lunch, and 1 glass of water between lunch and dinner.
Do you feel like your body will tell you the right amount if you listen to it?
Keep in mind that thirst is not the greatest guideline, because once you're thirsty, you're already moderately dehydrated. So you should probably drink a little more so you don't get thirsty. Okay. Because thirst could be a little too late in the process. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And you're saying, if you drink cold water, it's actually beneficial to...
Yeah. So like I have a glass of water when I wake up. I try to remember to have a glass of water, before, sometime in the mid-morning, like 11 o'clock before lunch. Maybe later in the afternoon. Because I had watermelon or juice or soup, and I had liquid for lunch. But then I could have mid-afternoon another glass, maybe a half a glass or something at night. So maybe I drink 3 to 4 glasses a day, but I drink more if I'm playing tennis then I might drink a whole quart of water with my tennis match. You know what I mean? Yeah. So forgetting the high exercise water. Right, for sure. Beyond that. Yeah. So, 3 to 5 glasses a day. You don't need 8 to 10 glasses a day unless you're eating unhealthy. So dry foods that are salted. For sure. It changes everything, honestly. Right. You're making me thirsty. So in summation, let's list out the foods that we talked about. Tell us the foods that are best for reaching your ideal weight. Well, the best thing is to understand the whole concept of why a nutritarian diet was developed. It has all these features that make it weight loss favorable. And the reason why people can't eat to satisfaction, eating as much as they want and still lose weight, is because their diet is nutritionally inadequate. So the foods we eat on a nutritarian diet are like lunch would be salad, vegetable bean soup, fresh fruit. Dinner would be raw vegetables, the guacamole dip, a salsa dip, a hummus dip. And then maybe we were eating, a Thai curry sauce on a mixed vegetable wok or something, and some banana ice cream for dessert that's sweetened with bananas and real vanilla bean powder and some real nuts in there or something. And then breakfast might be some intact whole grain, with maybe some berries and flax seeds and chia seeds and soy milk and, nectarines, whatever is, So we have a great tasting diet, really satisfying, and we don't have to worry about how much we're eating because we're eating till we're satisfied, but we're satisfied with the right amount of calories because our diet is so nutritionally complete. And I love the variation. Every meal you have something different. You're getting your berries in the morning, raw vegetables during lunch with bean soup, delicious. And then for dinner, you're getting like a cooked vegetable entree. That's very different than breakfast or lunch. Or a bean burger or something, yeah. Yeah, the variation is fantastic. Or a veggie loaf or something, yeah. And then for weight loss, let's just say it's the greens, beans, nuts and seeds. G-bombs. Yep. Greens, beans, onions, mushrooms, berries, and seeds. But that's not the only thing we're eating. Those are the things you're paying attention to make sure you eat each day. And that really has an effect to give people excellent results. Yeah, plus the benefits from great beverages. I think green tea is delicious, and cold glass of water sounds delicious right now. All right. Awesome. Thanks for joining us, and we will chat about another exciting new topic in nutrition next time. Good luck.